Cheating helped me save my husband and my lover's wife. I, Mark Wanaker, am probably more of a typical married man than most guys. Although I love my wife and kids, I can't resist fantasizing about having sex with another woman. If you think you are different, get off your high horse because the odds of you being different are 5-1. Although I fantasized about having sex with another woman, it wasn't something I would seriously want to do, because I knew I didn't have the guts to openly pursue others. And my standard was that she had to be really hot, even hotter than my 5'4", 1.6 me, 120-pound, 54-kilo, beautiful, kind but fiery wife Veronica, who most guys would rate about a 9.5 on a 10-point scale. And she had to be discreet because if I got caught, it would ruin my life. I had absolutely no interest in the flirtatious 20-something girls in my office, not only because they weren't 10-pointers and they weren't discreet, but also because over time the adage, "don't litter where you eat," had proven true. So, although I maintained my fantasy from about age 30 to 35, I never thought I'd be able to do it. And then serendipity happened. I had a rare business trip to meet with a group of people in the same core business, even though we weren't competitors. It was basically a seminar for 3 days and 2 nights in a town about 200 miles from where I live. Not too far to drive, but certainly too far not to stay overnight. I met a lot of nice, smart, and helpful people at the seminar, one of whom turned out to be attractive. Her name was Jillian Morse. She looked to be in her early 30s, but as people talked about their background, it became clear that she was between 38 and 42. She was the most attractive woman of that age I had ever spoken to. Jillian also had an interesting biography. She became an EMT right out of high school and didn't go to college until she was 21 and graduated 3 years later with a degree in business and other health science subjects that came easily to her because of her experience as an EMT. Jillian and I really liked each other. We had a great conversation the first day and evening of the seminar, and the second morning we met for a morning workout at the hotel gym. She showed me how slim and athletic she was. I showed her how strong I was. I could do the bench press and one-arm curl with 50 pounds, 23 kilo. When we ate breakfast together after training, our knees, hands, and arms often seemed to accidentally touch each other. By the time the impromptu party took place after dinner on the second night, I was convinced that not only was Jillian a little more attractive than Veronica, but because she was much taller, she was 6 feet 1.8 meters tall, than Veronica, sex with her would be significantly different. It was also clear that she was as interested in me as I was in her, and the only thing holding us back was how much we trusted each other to remain discreet. Jillian was a little more free than I was, and as I found out later, she was going through a dry period in her personal life due to her husband's temporary illness. So at the impromptu party, she sat me down in a secluded corner. Neither of us had consumed alcohol, which made our candor even more surprising than it might otherwise have been. "I'm going to be frank, Mark," she began. "We seem to have a mutual attraction, but we don't want to develop it because we haven't known each other very long and are wary of the other person being cautious, and we are naturally cautious." I looked into her enchanting aquamarine eyes for a long time before I replied, "I couldn't have said it better myself. I love my husband and children, and I don't want to hurt or disappoint them," she continued. "I feel the same way about my wife and children," I replied sincerely. "Are you willing to take a risk for me? Do you think the reward will be worth the risk?" she asked. "Yes, but how do we do it?" I replied. "Have you talked to your wife and children today?" she asked. "Yes, before dinner," I replied, and forwarded the room phone to my cell phone. "Did you?" "Yes, I talked to my husband and kids right after dinner. So, since no one from the seminar is on my floor, room 710, she smiled, "why don't I sit here for another 15 minutes and then go up to my room? After that, you'll walk around for another 15 minutes and then go up the stairs to my room and knock 4 times softly and twice hard." "I'll see you in half an hour," I replied, squeezing her hand. Jillian and I did exactly as planned and actually succeeded, no longer having contact with each other during the party and even flirting with the other seminar attendees. When I knocked on the number 710, Jillian answered without her clothes on. Obviously, she didn't believe in wasting time. Seeing her, I froze in place. "Get undressed and let's take a quick shower," she whispered. I think it was the fastest undressing I'd ever done in my life. We rubbed against each other, stumbling as we made our way to the bathroom. Luckily, Jillian's room must have been luxurious, because her shower stall was larger than the one in my room, and we had plenty of room to work on each other's bodies as we wiped each other down. Jillian clearly enjoyed it when, after we toweled ourselves dry, I picked her up in my arms, carried her into the bedroom, and laid her on the bed. "I'm too big to be held like this," she giggled. As I laid her on the bed, I was amazed that her breasts and hips were the perfect size for my tastes. Jillian was the most attractive woman I had ever met or heard of. Within 10 minutes, we started making love, and it was magical. Afterward, we were both physically and emotionally exhausted because, although the total time of our lovemaking was not very long, it was extremely intense. I pulled her to me so that our breasts touched, pulled the blanket over us, and soon we were in dreamland. I woke up when the clock read 3:03 a.m. I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, Jillian was already awake, smiling and minding her own business. When she came back, her smile was even wider. "Do you want to pretend we're a couple of Dobermans?" I laughed, and we made love again. When we pulled away from lovemaking, we lay chest to chest again and fell fast asleep again. Luckily, our last workshop was starting at 10 a.m. because after waking up at 8:30 a.m., we didn't want to leave her bed. Then with a sly grin, Jillian said, "Okay, let's get ready for practice." "God, Jillian," I moaned. "I'd be useless at the gym right now. You've sucked all the life force out of me." "I didn't mean at the gym, silly," she giggled. "I meant here. I'm sure we can burn more calories per minute in bed than in the gym." With those words, she made love to me. This time, when we broke apart, we took a quick shower together, without any of that hush-hush stuff. I got dressed, slipped out the door and down the stairs to my room while she packed up her things since we had to check out before class started. She showed up for the seminar right on schedule. I was only 2 minutes late. During lunch, we decided we'd better go our separate ways since we didn't want to have the same just-had-sex looks, but she asked for a ride back instead of taking the jalopy she'd come here in. She lived only 10 miles from my house in the same metropolitan area. I readily agreed. We left the hotel where the seminar was being held around 5:15 p.m. to make the return trip. For the first half hour, we chatted about how much fun we'd had and how much pleasure we'd gotten from sex. Then we both admitted that as the glow from our gymnastics began to fade, we would probably feel guilty. "I never cheated on Paul," she sighed when we had traveled about an hour. "And I have with Veronica," I replied. "While I know I'll feel guilt, I'll just channel it into being an even better husband and father," I smiled. "And I'll definitely never regret having sex with you. As I've said several times, it was supernatural." Jillian thought for a couple minutes, then replied, "That's a great perspective. I will use this experience to become a better wife and mother," she smiled. We then changed the subject and talked about our many common interests. On the way home, we stopped for a fast food snack, so when we pulled up to Jillian's house, it was about 8:50 and dark. There were no mansions in the neighborhood where she lived, but the houses were a good size and well spaced apart. As I pulled up to the curb in front of her house behind an old blue pickup truck, she sighed. My front door is open, and I recognized this truck that seemed to be scouting the neighborhood. "Call 911, I said, getting out of the car and heading toward her house. "Be careful," she said. When I got to the front door, I literally ran into a guy carrying a TV and trying to leave. He looked absolutely nothing like the picture of Paul that Jillian had shown me, at least with the ski mask on his face. I grabbed him by the neck and slammed his head against the wall twice, rendering him unconscious. I heard a voice further back in the house and hid behind the wall between the hallway and the living room. "You stupid asshole! Why did you drop the TV?" I heard a voice approaching from the other side of the wall I was behind. When the voice got closer, it said, "What happened to you?" I saw a second guy in a ski mask kneeling over the first unconscious guy and with a gun in the hand closest to me. I quickly headed toward him. When he turned toward me, I hit him in the face with my right elbow and grabbed his hand with the gun with my left, then hit him 3 more times until it was clear he was passed out. I then picked up the gun, a simple .38 caliber that I was very familiar with, and went further into the house. In the kitchen, I came upon Paul tied to a chair, gagged and bruised. I undid the gag and whispered, "How many are there?" "2," he whispered back. Relieved, I pulled out a kitchen knife, cut him off the ropes, and asked him where the kids were and if he was okay. "The kids are at a party and I'm not badly hurt," he replied. Then he asked, "Who are you?" "Oh, I'm sorry," I mumbled, clearly embarrassed. "My name is Mark Wanaker. I was at a seminar with Jillian. She didn't want to fly back because turbulence was forecast, and since I live only 10 miles away, I drove her back. When we saw the front door open, I came to deal with it, and she called 911. A lot of things happened after that." Paul came out to my car to give Jillian a hug. I stood guard over 2 intruders who had just woken up, and the cops were quickly beside me. I put the gun on the floor before the police officers entered the house. Paul had already told the first 2 cops the basic facts, and that I was a good guy, so they didn't confront me, although I still kept my hands up and pointed the .38 caliber pistol at them. By the time 4 more police officers arrived, the 2 intruders had already been handcuffed and their ski masks removed, and shortly thereafter they were identified as 2 criminals with 6-foot-long criminal records. I called Veronica, told her the 2-minute version of the story, and informed her that I needed to make a statement at the police station. She was worried about me, but I assured her I was fine. After Paul, Jillian, and I made our statements at the police station, I apologized to Paul for causing the first intruder to drop and smash the TV. He laughed and thanked me for saving him. "I'm sure they would have killed or maimed me before they left," he sighed. "They were really mean guys and told me they were going to strip me after they stole everything valuable." When Paul went to get the car to pick up Jillian, and I had 2 minutes to ourselves. "Who would have thought having sex with you would save my husband?" She giggled. "I guess I won't feel so guilty after all," she continued, taking my lips in a quick but ardent kiss. "Maybe we can do it again. I mean the sex, not the domestic drama," I giggled. "Maybe," she said, slipping a piece of paper with her cell phone number in my hand, and then walked out to Paul's car. I waited until their taillights were gone and headed home. Veronica and the kids were very concerned when I returned. After about 20 minutes, they made sure I was okay. Veronica made me feel great by making love to me that night. The first time in my life I had sex twice in one day with 2 different women. I went to bed with a big smile on my face, alternately thinking about having sex first with Jillian and then Veronica. After the incident at Paul and Jillian's house, Paul insisted on taking me and my family out to dinner. Jillian and I were a little apprehensive about giving away our feelings for each other, but we concluded that we could act in secret. And if our families got together, we would have a ready-made excuse if we somehow stumbled and were caught together in the future. So we enthusiastically supported the idea. The get-together went great. Jillian and Veronica seemed to get on well with each other, Paul was a great guy, and our kids were about the same age and seemed to enjoy each other's company as well. There were only 2 minor hiccups. My 7-year-old boy, he looks almost like my clone and is large for his age, was very attracted to Jillian's 8-year-old daughter, almost her clone, and on the way home, Veronica remarked in a hard-to-read manner, "I didn't know Jillian was so hot. You never mentioned it." That hurt a little, but nothing more was said about it. Despite our obvious physical attraction to each other, Jillian and I were extremely cautious about arranging other encounters. We both had demanding jobs, our offices were 15 miles apart, and combined with commitments to our families, there wasn't much free time. We didn't have late-night work or girls or boys sleepovers. However, when we did get together, it was magical. Partly as a game and partly to absolve ourselves of guilt, the week after each affair we would make a list of everything we had done for our spouse and children, since we had sex that went beyond what we should have done to make their lives better. Each time we tried to be as objective as possible about which of us did the best job, and the other would send the winner $25. Only once, out of 5 disputes, did we consider it to have ended in failure. This game, and the fact that our love life with our spouses seemed to have improved, really helped assuage our feelings of guilt. Jillian and I had gone a full 6 weeks without clandestine sex, seeing each other at an event for which both families had gotten tickets, and my son was very excited to see Jillian's daughter again, when we became a little careless. Veronica was off for the day from an important meeting at work, the kids were at school, and in the morning Jillian was visiting a client just a mile from my house. So we met for the first time at one of our residences, around 11 a.m. in the guest room of my home. That afternoon, Jillian was walked into my house and we had sex. Then, my cell phone rang. I brushed the call off because it was unimportant, but for some reason, perhaps paranoia, I switched to the Find My Phone screen to see where Veronica's phone was. To my horror, I saw that it was only 2 miles from my house. Without showering, Jillian and I quickly got dressed. Since her car was parked right in front of our house, there was no way she could get out or hide, so we quickly got cans of soda and were sitting in the living room far away from each other having a friendly conversation when Veronica walked in. When we saw Veronica, we were horrified. She looked like a ghost. I jumped up, grabbed her, and asked, "What's wrong, honey?" She mumbled something incomprehensible and then fainted. Jillian immediately rushed into action, drawing on her training as an emergency room doctor. While she tended to Veronica, she told me to call 911. After the call, I hurried back to Jillian and Veronica, and Jillian tossed me the car keys and yelled, "Get the pharmacy bag from the front passenger seat and bring it over here, quick!" If there is a record for running in the 30-meter dash, I broke it. There were 2 bags of prescriptions, and I brought them both. Jillian chose one, told me to open it, and pull out of the package the remedy it contained. As I found out later, it was a bronchodilator of the kind Paul used for emergency asthma attacks. I quickly did so, handed the device to Jillian, and she went to work injecting the liquid into Veronica's airway. The ambulance arrived 3 or 4 minutes later. By then, it looked like Veronica would survive, but we weren't sure. Jillian told the ambulance drivers what she had done and her opinion of what the problem was. After talking to Jillian, they gave Veronica a shot of epinephrine and then took her away. "You follow her to the hospital in your car and I'll clean up here and upstairs," Jillian told me without waiting for the others to respond. I thanked Jillian profusely, got in my car, and went to get the ambulance. I called my secretary and asked her to cancel my appointments for the rest of the day and called my mom to pick up the kids from school since I intended to stay at the hospital. Fortunately, by 6 p.m., Veronica was not only on the mend, but looked well. Although she could have gone home, the doctor recommended that she stay the night, and we decided that was best. The doctor told us that if Jillian hadn't done what she did and was lucky enough to have a bronchodilator in the car, Veronica would have died from a then-unknown allergen. Everything returned to normal after a few days, and Veronica not only had no lasting effects, but seemed more energetic than ever. We found out that she had gradually developed a reaction to some substance in the environment in the office building, and that she had gotten a large dose of it the day she almost died and barely made it home. She had to go to the hospital. Subsequently, her entire small office building was treated and all traces of the substance removed to prevent a recurrence. Veronica insisted that we invite Paul and Jillian over for a thank-you dinner, like the time I supposedly saved Paul's life. Of course, my son was thrilled to see his girlfriend again. Just like last time, everyone had a lot of fun, and Veronica gave Jillian a necklace with a gold-plated lifesaver around her neck. As everyone was leaving, Veronica hugged Jillian tightly and whispered something in her ear. When they broke the embrace, Veronica immediately hugged Jillian's children, but I caught a fleeting look of shock on Jillian's face before she regained her composure. I insisted that I do all the cleaning, and then gave Veronica a 20-minute foot massage, her favorite thing to do besides lovemaking, before bed. Once in bed, she turned into a tigress and did her favorite thing. We were both completely exhausted and fell fast asleep in each other's arms. Our party took place on Saturday. The following Monday, Jillian called me at work. She was beyond chatty. She had something to tell me. Remember how you said you were confused about why Veronica never asked you any serious questions about why I was at your house the day she had a life-threatening allergic reaction? Yeah, I was wondering why she accepted without comment my statement that we were just planning a surprise party for Paul, I replied cautiously. And did you notice my shocked reaction when Veronica hugged me goodbye on Saturday? Continued Jillian. Of course I noticed, and what did she say? Replied I. She said, "Thank you again for saving my life. Because of that, you have a pass this time. But if you make love to my husband one more time, no one can save you." Jillian sighed. Thus ended my casual affair with Jillian. Of course, it was a happy accident, because she definitely saved my wife's life, and I probably saved her husband from death or mutilation. I thought of Jillian often afterward, and the memories were always pleasant, but Veronica made sure that I was constantly satisfied. However, I never cheated again, and I can say that Veronica now trusts me, although we see Paul and Jillian all the time and will for many more years to come. Why will we see them for many more years? Because 15 years after I met Jillian, my son married her daughter and we are now related. Serendipity struck again. The end! Subscribe to my channel. Thank you!